Handling email in your SaaS or your side project is super important. Whether you're using transactional emails, marketing emails, or you need some sort of drip to allow users to onboard and get feedback. In this video, we're going to be looking at Loops. Loops touts itself as modern email for SaaS. We've been using it at Anki for sending out our changelog emails, as well as some onboarding experiences. So I want to show you how it works and how easy it is to integrate into your next SaaS side project or just in general. So before we begin, this is Loops. It is on waitlist only right now. And to get in, just add your email here and they invite pretty quickly. Essentially, the idea here is that you get a nice, easy way to design your emails. And then of course, there's a bunch of different integrations, whether you want to use APIs, whether you want to use like a manual way, whether you want to use integrations from certain things like Framer or Zapier, Webflow, Sensor Segment, TypeDream. And essentially the idea here is that you build a journey and that journey gets executed based upon some sort of specific thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in here. So the first thing I really want to talk about before we do anything else is pricing. For the free plan, you get 1,000 contacts and you can send up to 2,000 emails a month. So that's great if you're onboarding or using it for transactional emails. 2,000 a month is pretty decent. And then it starts at $50 for up to 5,000 contacts, but then you get unlimited emails and it gets more and more expensive as you have more contacts. I think the most expensive plan right now is like $300 and that's for 100,000 contacts. So let's actually talk about the platform itself. So campaigns are one-off emails. You just send them as is. There's no sort of procedure. It's just, hey, this needs to go out as an email. Send it as a campaign. Usually it's things like change logs. Maybe it's features. Maybe it's funding announcements. Maybe it's, hey, this, that, or the other. It's basically things that you may want to do that don't require repeatable actions. So for example, here's a change log. I'll just open this untitled one here. When you click on it, if you're using specific campaigns, they actually give you a nice template to figure out how to send your own. So here's an example. It says, hey there, and there here is just a default, but they have an integration here that's just here called a merge tag. You select it and you can select any field that you're actually acquiring and then have a fallback option. So I can write, hey there. And then in this scenario, if this is null, we'll just use there instead. And then you can fill in the blanks here and put in all your features. And then you can send yourself a preview as long as you have a subject. And you can add things like buttons, real basic stuff that you would do with any kind of email. And on top of that, if you prefer, you can actually upload custom email templates under this custom email here. And then you can just use the MJML, which is pretty popular, makes it really easy. You can just upload that and then use that as part of your merge tags, as well as making it look and feel how you want. So now we've kind of talked about how this works. Then you can select your audience, right? So anybody that's in your audience, you get to schedule it for whatever time you want. Then you can send it and send it to whoever you want. And then finally, you get a metrics section here once the campaign is sent. Now with the metrics, it's just the standard metrics that you would normally see. Things like how many were sent, how many were opened, if you've got any links, any of those were clicked, how many percentage-wise, all those things that you really need to know whether or not your campaign is going well. But this is just normal campaigns. Anybody can do this. You can do it with Resend, you could do it with whoever. But the more powerful thing here is the actual loop system. So what is a loop? So if we actually go back here and we look at loops templates here. So for example, let's say a contact was added, right? So maybe someone was added to your subscriber newsletter, or maybe they've signed up for your platform. If you click this, you get this nice form here that you get to select how and when this email gets sent and how it's decided who to send it to. So for example, the contact was added, that's step one. Then there's a timer. So after 1 minute, after 1 hour, after 100 days, whatever it might be, send it immediately. You can select how that works. Then you have this thing called audience filtering. So in this example right now, it's sending to all contacts. But if you click edit audience here, you can actually do and add a filter. So maybe you can say was created at after this time, and then that will send to your user based upon that filtering. Then finally, you create the email that you want to send, and you can use any templating or anything else that you want. And then finally, that loop is complete when all of these steps have occurred. Then you get metrics based upon how many emails have been sent, how many opens, and how many clicks. So essentially what you get here is the similar metrics as you would with a normal marketing campaign, but it's now loopable and you can make changes to this loop. And depending on who, what, where, or how, this will be executed. Now, this is really good for things, in my opinion, for acquisitions, onboarding, like we have a welcome to Unkey one that we're working on right now. You can do things like aha moments. Maybe the user has signed up 1,000 users, or maybe they've used your product 100,000 times, whatever it might be. You can send them an email, thanking them, congratulating them, showing them a bunch of stats, whatever you want. Then you got things like retention, re-engagement, or reactivation. So you can send things after, like, let's say someone canceled their account. You can send them an email, get some feedback, all that kind of stuff. So this is super awesome just to like segment these out and make them into really easy to follow and easy to track content. Then outside of that, obviously, transactional emails are super important for any kind of SaaS. You can create a new one here. It tells you right out of the gate, you know, do not send these for promotional purposes. Only send them as part of transactional. So you can click I understand here. But if we actually just go to templates here and scroll down to transactional, you could do like a password reset, for example. So if we click this, it will allow us to be like, okay, when there's a password reset, we can enter some information down here and send them along to the user. So templates, I just kind of maybe covered this very shortly, but they have all of these great templates that allow you to essentially build quickly and not have to worry so much about the code. So you can just say like, hey, onboarding, like maybe they haven't actually done anything in the platform yet. Let's select that one. We can say this event received. We can send this email. And here is like their example. They're using Potion here. But if I edit this email, it says like, hey, first name, you're in. You know, this is your account. This is how it works. Here's a little like thing to see how easy it is to do something. Get started. This get started could be a link to the dashboard or the docs, quick start, whatever it might be. So you get this really nice experience of being able to build all of these out. And then if you want to make it easier to style, you can use all of these things here. So like the body, for example, you can set a background, you can set the borders, you can set how much padding is here, what the body color should be, text font. If you've got a particular font that you want to use, you can use that. And of course the color as well. So overall, the platform is all about moving quickly, which is something that I'm a big fan of, versus you having to build out all of the different emails using maybe React email or whatever, and then sending them through. Now, you're probably wondering at this point, okay, you've been through the platform's working great for you, but why did you switch from, say, resend and hand rolling versus doing this all yourself? So let's talk about that a bit more. So we decided to move from resend to loops for a couple of different reasons. One, we were concerned about sending out emails and having users unsubscribe. In the beginning, what we were doing were adding metadata to our Clerk users and saying, hey, if they are subscribed, send them an email, otherwise don't, which then added extra complexity to sending emails. So we would essentially get the email addresses from Clerk, make sure that they were filtered by this specific piece of metadata, then ask resend to send each one of those, you know, 1 every 2 seconds or 5 every 2 seconds or whatever the number was. And then someone would have to run that on a server, or we'd have to run it on a machine. So like, for example, I would send the newsletter out or the changelog. I would send it from my machine and just sit and wait. So we had that. And then obviously unsubscribing for users that didn't want to be part of the changelog or they didn't want marketing material. How do you handle that in a way that makes the most sense? So we would have to change some code in our actual Unkey application to handle this, add a checkbox, all those kinds of things on top. Then secondly, we wanted to start doing drip emails to basically onboard a user and say, hey, welcome to the platform. Here are some resources. And then in a few days, check in and ask for more feedback so that you can build the platform out more. I didn't want to have to remember to do that all the time and figure out, okay, has this person had this sent? Have they had this not sent? With loops, it was dead simple. Just say, okay, after an hour, send them this email. After 3 days, send them this email. And of course, after this, send them this email. So like set them all up, put them out, job done. We didn't have to worry about, well, if they unsubscribe from the first one, then the second one's not going to work, or the third one's not going to work, or whatever it might be. Everything was just handled for us. And of course, with the domain reputations and things like that, all of that is handled through the Loops platform. So we know that it's being sent from a good place. And if we need additional support, we have those. So that's it. That's Loops in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll be doing more tutorials, more regular stuff, but as we build out Unkey, I want to present some of the stuff that we're finding as we build out this giant platform. So if you did make it to the end of this video and you are not subscribed, click right here. We want to get to 20K by the end of the year. I know I've been lacking. I've had a couple of weeks off, but still. And of course, if you haven't watched any of my videos before, right here will be one recommended from the algorithm. Probably be more tutorial based. Click it, enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.